So now this is the third time I've pressed record because every time I pressed record, I've gotten a text or a call interrupting. So let's try this again. Today, we are talking about the Figaro L2 speakers. Now, I know, you guys who follow my channel, you're going to say, but wait a minute, Michael, they don't follow into your trifecta. The trifecta being tubes, horn speakers, or tweaks. But there are pieces of gear that don't fall into those three areas that are really good, and I'm happy to talk about. This is one of those pieces. Now, I will say this. I have actually received, and I say this as a compliment to these Figaros. First of all, great fit and finish. You can customize them any way you want. Colors, trim pieces, things like that. I'm calling this particular one that I put together, I did pick out this color scheme. I'm calling it the Greek Audio Geek color scheme. I love this color scheme. It looks beautiful. Wife loves it. But I had a pair of speakers here at the same time. I'm not going to mention the name. I did not do a video on it because I really did not like them. They were a similar design. They were $46,000 for the pair. These come in anywhere, depending upon the finishes that you choose, from about $14,000 up, if memory serves correct. And I would say that the L2s that I have are really probably bigger than most people need. My room is 23 feet wide by 35 feet long. And before I get into the sound of them and how they performed, they absolutely smoked the $46,000 speakers. It wasn't even close. Now, look, at the end of the day, I'm still a horn speaker guy. I still love horn speakers. But for traditional speaker designs, these are really good. And you get a lot of speaker for the money. And I love that. The ones that come in under it, your M2s, things like that, you're going to get it's a little bit smaller size-wise. You get smaller dual woofers. I think that's going to be the sweet spot for most people. The size of these woofers has got dual 9.5-inch woofers. In fact, the driver complement, it is a three-way. I'm looking here at the website. It's 180 pounds each speaker. These are big speakers. 92 dB efficiency. They were very easy to drive. And it's got a 19 millimeter silk dome tweeter and 18.3 centimeter. So I think that's probably about a 6.5-inch, 7-inch mid-range. And then your two 23.5 centimeter woofers. So this is a big speaker. I think, again, the M2 is the right way to go. But here is what I found interesting about these speakers. Once you wrestle them in place and once you get them burned in and ready to go, of all the speakers I've ever had, I have got massive bass nodes and bass cancellation in my room. I've got a separate sub that help offsets that. My Tobian horn speakers, which I love, they're still my reference speaker. They've got a 12-inch woofer. These Audio Solutions speakers are the only speaker I have ever had come into my house where I disconnected the subwoofer because I didn't need it, and I still thought I had the subwoofer hooked up. These things pound. They rock. There is no room I can ever imagine in a normal size house that these things can't absolutely conquer. And I'll go one step further. Even if you go with this size at about the $15,000 or $16,000 range, you're saving yourself by not having to spend several thousand on a subwoofer. You're going to get a higher wife approving factor because you don't have to worry about putting a subwoofer in the corner or extra cables or hookups or anything like that. The M2, again, I think is still going to be more than enough for for most people. You're going to come in at a lower price, and they're fantastic. Guys, I mean, I decided, well, how am I going to talk about these? So let me talk about the overall fit and finish again. First of all, first rate. It's excellent. And speaking with them, they are really focused on the cabinets. The ones that I had that were here that were $46,000, I did not feel the fit and finish was equal to these. And again, I'm not going to mention the name of those $46,000 I had here, but these smoked it. These absolutely smoked it. These had a very smooth and open mid-range and high frequencies. And what I really like about that is that it's easy when you get into higher priced gear to have really nice high-end frequencies and really smooth frequencies. But I think that for a majority of the normal priced gear, the high frequencies are one of the weak spots. They're typically more jagged, a little bit more forward, a little bit harsher, and my ears are really sensitive to that. these speakers are going to be able to cope with any of that and give you fantastic sound. So I think they're more forgiving of a majority of the electronics out there than most speakers that I've heard. Yet, these speakers are still good enough that if you hook them up with more expensive gear, I had Audiophile hooked up to it. I had Luxman hooked up to it. I had VAC hooked up to it, and a multitude of other the BAT integrated tube amp. I had anything from 8-watt 300Bs, and they are going to need more than that power. Okay. Anything all the way up to I'm trying to remember, I think the VAC was 80 watts a channel. The BAT, the BAT Balanced Audio Tech, I think is 50, 55 watts a channel. The Audiophile was hundreds of watts a channel. It handled everything, no problem. And it was always an enjoyable, relaxing listen that to me made you want to listen more. And that is really saying a lot, because so many pieces of gear I find today, especially speakers, they try and be hi-fi and not musical. And I think this walks the line of giving you a lot of information, a lot of detail, sounding huge, but giving you that musicality that many speakers are missing. So from a test point of view, when I did my vocal trance above and beyond the songs that I put on that, where normally it really works out a subwoofer, these speakers pounded. When the wife was out and the vodka was flowing and I was reliving my rave days, these speakers had no problem keeping up with that. On top of that, when I would switch it over into something like a Louis Armstrong or an Ella Fitzgerald, it had no problem having a very relaxed, comfortable listen that draws you in. I love the St. James Infirmary by Louis Armstrong, one of my favorite songs. It was just here's the music, enjoy it. You're going to have fun with us today. At its price point, I will say I have not heard another speaker at its price point, or even a little bit more, that I think compares to these. And where you're looking at about 16 to 18,000 on these speakers, if you do the M2, I think you're coming in closer to 10 or 12,000. And frankly, even for my large room, I think the M2 would have been a great way to go, would have been easier to maneuver, would have absolutely have filled up the room, no problem. But I still like bigger is better. And I still think that when you come in and you see how beautiful these are with the blue and the trim pieces and the carbon fiber look, it is a beautiful piece. I will say, of all the speakers I've had in my room, these and then the Piccolos are the other one, the Clarisis Piccolos, have gotten the most favorable reaction from non-audiophiles. A lot of the other speakers are kind of like, okay, yeah, it's a speaker, whatever. I'm sorry, not the non-audiophile people. Yeah, it's a speaker, whatever. This speaker, people would come in and they'd be like, wow, and they'd walk over and they would check it out. Extremely high quality binding posts. They come ready for by wiring. You can always single wire if you need to with just a jumper. You can customize, and that's what's great about Audio Solutions is the level of customization that you can have on these speakers, from the color to the type of binding posts to the surround on the speakers, really allows you, you can even do custom paint chips if you want for an additional fee. It really allows you to get a speaker that I think is really cool and really in with today's look. You look at the people who get the custom car colors, or they want a case to get a custom iPhone color, or whatever they want to do with that. This is really going to allow you to get a great sounding speaker. You can customize it to the way you want, and you're dealing with great people at a great company. You guys know how important that is to me. There are brands and companies out there where I like the product, I will not talk about, because I do not want to help make people aware of them and possibly drive business to them, because I don't like the way they do business. I don't think they're going to be there for you. I don't think they're going to support the customer. They don't put the customer first. There's just no need, in my personal opinion, to do business with companies like that. I like the guys at Audio Solutions. They are really dedicated to great sound. They're down to earth. And you're getting a European built speaker. I love that. I love the stuff that's built in the USA or that's built in Europe, because To me, that's where the real artistry is. That's where the real craftsmen are. That's where the passion and the love for hi-fi that I want to support with my money. I've heard from other people that they feel Audio Solutions should be charging more for these speakers. I will say this. I know Audio Solutions won't. I know they want to give you a great value speaker. They've told me point blank. They are very, very conscious on keeping the price available for people, attainable for people. But yes, they could charge thousands of dollars more for these speakers, and it would still be a value offering where you are getting what you are paying for. So that means by default that these speakers are a very good value in my mind. If you're looking to be in this price point, if you're looking for a speaker like this, I love the fact that you don't need a sub. They're relatively easy to set up in terms of they didn't need to be 10 feet out into the middle of the room. They've got the external feet to make it easy to stabilize. Guys, I really like these speakers. And I think you need to realize that for somebody like me who's so big into horn speakers and love horn speakers, that for me to say, here's, especially when there's been other traditional design speakers I've had come in that I didn't like at all. And I just said, I'm not even going to, it takes 30 to 50 hours for me to build a video, to make a video, to build this content. It's just too much work for something that ultimately I'm going to say I don't like. So I'm telling you guys, you need to check these speakers out. If you're anywhere in this price point, you need to check them out. I think you're going to be very pleased with them. They're extremely forgiving of gear. And I just can't say enough good things about them, especially at the price point. So Audio Solutions, thank you for being good people. Thank you for really trying to focus on bringing a European-made speaker at a competitive price point and being conscious about what your customers can afford. Thank you for offering such a huge variety of speakers, because there's something different for everybody. And guys, these are one of the good people we need to support. And I wholeheartedly recommend you check out Audio Solutions. Guys, I'm the Greek Audio Geek, and I approve of this message. Opa!